Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel for some very just ESC analysis. And today we're gonna take a look at Azerbaijani entry for Eurovision 2024. I actually haven't heard the song at all, so I have no idea if it's an up-tempo song, ballad, whatever, so this we will discover together. And this year, in internal selection, they have selected two male singers. One is Fahree. Fahree is just 28 years old. He actually has a bachelor's and master's degree in law, but he decided to fully go into the singing career, and now you see he even goes to Eurovision, so maybe it was a really good decision. And he will be accompanied in Eurovision by Ilkin Dovlatov, who is a Mugam singer. So Mugam is a very special traditional Azerbaijani way of singing. You can compare it maybe to some of the Eastern European singing styles. And when I was in Azerbaijan, I had a chance to hear this kind of music. So it's great that something like this will be brought to Eurovision, because it's always great to see other cultures being showcased in the contest. And the Azerbaijani culture will be showcased even more in this year's edition, because the song will be in Azerbaijani language. It's actually the first time, I think, ever that Azerbaijan is singing the song, which is not maybe like with few words in Azerbaijani or so, but where Azerbaijani is really a major language of the song. I'm not sure if there will be any parts in English at all, because the title is also in Azerbaijani, so I cannot pronounce it, no chance. Yeah, I'm super curious to hear the entry, so let's go. So in accordance with the YouTube thumbnail, we will actually see not the official music video, but a showcase performance. So I would assume it's just a performance with the MP3 version dubbed on top of it. But let's see, maybe it's even live vocals. Quite curious.
I lived a life standing on my own.
Okay, so now I'm slightly confused, because I have read that this song should be majorly in Azerbaijani language, and now we start immediately with English. And actually I thought if there is this Mugam singer integrated in the song, then it should be something kind of more traditional, more maybe like a ballad. And it starts more like, you know, upbeat electronic track. Definitely not what I have expected, but interesting.
Only with you I feel how the burdens of my life just disappear. Through all the lows and highs, love.
Okay, so it's like a ballad with some electronic touch to it. I'm not sure where it's actually going, if it will be more powerful, because it starts in this kind of very melancholic mood. His vocal is also not really showcased so much. It's just, you know, a bit stripped down. But let's see, I'm very interested in how it will change.
Love has guided me to gates of paradise. Hold my heart in your hands. Do you have what it takes? Hurricanes are roaming, but you.
It is also very cool that they added a bit of this oriental elements to the song, because the beginning, you know, it could be from Czechia, it could be from Austria, it could be from basically wherever. It could go in the direction like We Are Domi song Lights Off went some years ago.
Try changing lovers, changing my furniture, change my bed covers, I change my heart.
But it seems like we are going still for something a little bit more traditional and, you know, culture inspired. So yeah, I think we're still not in the refrain, but I believe it's now about to come. actually a bit of Turkish blood in me is now really boiling when I hear this really, really beautiful melody. You know, it sounds really kind of Turkish or Azerbaijani. Their culture is actually kind of similar. They're both Turkish nations. Really beautiful melody. I really like it. I love that it's not just purely classical traditional song, but it's really a nice mix of modern touch and this traditional elements. So far, really, really amazing entry. So here we had a little bit of this Mugam elements. Actually, if I'm right, I think this Mugam was also in the performance of Sabina Babaeva in Eurovision 2012 when it was actually hosted in Baku.
There's a sunrise, so cold.
I have to say, when the whole song is just based on this Mugam singing, for me, it's a little bit too much, a bit hard to listen to because it's not something I'm used to. But this kind of small parts of it are really adding just some additional flavor to the song. Really nice additions.
Hold my heart in your hands. Do you have what it takes? Healing all the scars that breaking chains. I know that.
Okay, now my Turkish blood is boiling again. Yeah, that sounds really, really magical. It actually reminds me a little bit of the French song 2 years ago in Eurovision. It was also kind of more dark, electronic, but with some oriental elements. And even though they wanted to sell it as, I think, Celtic elements, because they were from Brittany region of France, I still think that it also had a lot of oriental touch to it. That's why it was my personal favorite song of that year. Maybe not my personal favorite performance, but at least the song. Ooh, this violins now towards the end, also super beautiful addition, also adds even more of this Turkish flavor to the song. Well, this one can be definitely one of my personal favorites this year. So I personally really, really like how it's building, also how it's now ending. The only concern I have, how well it will be appreciated by the rest of the audience, because if we even think about the French entry, which I have shown a minute ago, it was neither appreciated by juries, nor it was appreciated by the televoters. And I feel like the televoters, they really like entries which have some traditional elements, but these entries should be kind of fun, you know, more like party entries. And when these are the slow entries, I think, yeah, generally the audience tends to tune out. And this one is not maybe the most captivating song for the general audience, but yeah, well, we still have 5 or 10 more seconds. Maybe now something incredible will come, what will change my opinion. Well, the last note was also beautiful. I loved how they finished the song. So in my opinion, really well-structured song, really beautiful entry. If it's for Eurovision, let's discuss. Wow, this is definitely not what I have expected when I was going into this reaction, because Azerbaijan was not one of my favorite countries in Eurovision generally, but especially in the last years. But this song is right down my alley. This has this beautiful Turkish-inspired melody, some electronic touch to it. It's kind of mid-tempo or even slow tempo, I would say, what I definitely prefer to listen to by myself in my playlist, you know, in my free time. And if we take a look at the lyrics of the song, actually lyrics are really beautiful. It's more like a love ballad where you just say how much better life is with your partner. that now suddenly, chaos inside and mysteries unsolved, which you had when you were on your own, now they're away. The hurricanes are roaming if you are not next to me, but you take away the pain and so on. So it's like really about having this attachment to the partner whom you love and how love makes your life much better and much happier. So now let's take a look at the 15 years history of Azerbaijan and Eurovision. Actually, 15 years is exactly the period how long Azerbaijan was taking part in the contest, because they debuted in 2008. And since their debut, you can see in the first 5, even 6 years, every year it was amazing results. 2012, we don't see them in the semi-final because they were the winners of the edition before that. And Sabina Babaeva was automatically in the final, and she also managed to finish on top 5. So it seemed in the beginning like Azerbaijan, found a perfect formula for Eurovision. So a bit like Ukraine nowadays, because every year the top placement for them was guaranteed. And then since 2014, something went slightly off. You can see that in 2014 and 2015, basically the 2 years when Azerbaijan was in the final of the contest, in accordance with the televoters, they were not supposed to be there. So if back then we would have only televote, they would not be in the final. Till 2018, Azerbaijan managed to keep this record for being always in the final, no matter what kind of entry they sent. But in 2018, unfortunately, Aysel was unlucky to finish slightly below the 10th place. I love that song, but as you can see, Aysel finished only on the 12th place in the semi-final in accordance with the televote that year. But if we take a look at their last 2 years, 2022 and 2023, you can see that 2022, they even finished on last place in the semi-final. They had this big fat 0 from the televoters, while juries ranked them that high that they even managed to qualify to the final. But in 2023, you can see that in the televote they were slightly higher, but in overall, it was still not a better result than in 2022. And it seems like now Azerbaijan has kind of lost this connection to the televoters, which they had in the past. And therefore, it ranks them in overall in the last 15 years, 13th from all 31 entry. But interestingly, it still puts them only to place 10 in the semi-final, because actually this semi-final is full of countries which in the last years don't really show any strong results, but were very strong countries in the past. But if we take a look at only the last 5 years, then they jump from the 13th place down to the 23rd place, which puts them even on place 12 in the semifinal. And now let's see what the bookmakers think about Azerbaijan. So as you can see, Azerbaijan is ranked 21st by bookmakers at the moment, which means, let's say, borderline qualifier, but rather in the final. They are below entries like Iceland, Serbia, Armenia, Georgia, Ireland, Finland, Norway, but they're above Estonia, Cyprus, Slovenia, Spain, Australia, Poland, and Albania. Azerbaijan will actually perform in the first semifinal, in the second half. So it means they're in the semifinal, which is slightly weaker and where only 5 countries will not make it to the final. And being in the second half, of course, elevates their chances to make it to the final. So in their second half, they will compete with Slovenia, Iceland, Finland, Portugal, Luxembourg, Australia, and Moldova. Actually, none of the entries we have heard so far, so I cannot say if there is anything similar or not to the Azerbaijani song, but I think it will stand out because of this Turkish flavor in it. And I think it's really important for Azerbaijan that they're performing in the second half this year, because this kind of a bit rather slower songs, if they're in the first half, they are completely lost, completely forgotten by the end of the show. So by being in the second half, they at least get a better shot in qualifying. But if we take a look at the ESC scoreboard, then Azerbaijan is ranked only 29th, so even much lower than in accordance with the bookmakers. They are below Finland, Czechia, Portugal, Poland, but they are still above Australia, Malta, Germany, San Marino, and Albania. So that's not a very high result. So it seems like Eurovision fandom will rather expect that they are not qualifying to the final. We still should not forget how well Azerbaijan did in the past, even though last 2 years it was, slightly way off the televoters' preference, but still, I feel we should not really write off Azerbaijan at this moment of time. We still have to wait for the live performance. And talking about the staging, I think most probably they will keep a lot of elements which we saw in this showcase performance, as they called it on the Eurovision YouTube channel. So I like how they switch camera, you know, sometimes from the main singer to maybe the violinists in the back, or to this Mugam singer who has completely different background and so on. I think it's a nice concept. I would hope that they would add a bit more of like Azerbaijani elements to it. Yeah, maybe hidden fire, because, you know, Azerbaijan is land of fire, and just playing with this a little bit. But speaking honestly, I think that they have to really make a more stripped down performance, more focusing on very nice camera shots where they just show the singer very closely, that the audience feels connection to him. Because in this music video, he felt slightly cold, and, you know, there were a lot of far away shots as well. So I think through the clever camera work, they can elevate it a lot. And I hope they will have help from some great stage directors, maybe not from Kalin, because she's already representing Austria this year. So this is what I think about Azerbaijani entry this year. So far for me, their qualification chance is sort of 50-50. It really depends on the competition. I think it's profiting them a lot that they're in the second half of the first semi-final. But so far, I can say this kind of song is not something what typically the televoters would rank high. So I wouldn't be surprised if, unfortunately, they don't make it to the final. But what do you think? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Or is it also something maybe not so much for you and you wouldn't vote for it by yourself? Please let me know down below in the comments, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.